What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, joined by the one, the only AC. We are back here. We missed week number 3. Some things were going on. AC was away and stuff. And he was actually at the Eagles game, which he'll fill you in about. But we're going to get back to picking games against the spread. We're going to be betting on these NFL games, giving you our top 4 or 5 bets, or maybe even 6 bets that we have this week, and giving you some tips to win some money in the NFL betting. So, AC, first off, let's get to your trip. Let's talk about what happened on the great Philadelphia trip of AC, and just fill us in.
Man, first of all, I've been a diehard Eagles fan for, I guess, 20 years, never been to a game. Philadelphia's a really nice city. We stayed right on Broad Street, right on the main drag there. Woke up early, did a little tailgating, which is insane because in Philly, they have a sports complex. So where the Flyers play and where the Phillies play and Lincoln Financial Field where the Eagles play is all in a giant complex. It only would take you 5 minutes to walk from each complex. And then they have a huge bar, and then tailgating was crazy. But let's just get into the game. I couldn't have picked. I've been watching Eagles games for the last 20 years. That probably was the most exciting, except for 4th and 27 against the Packers in the playoffs in 05 or whatever. But the way it's set up, because the Eagles were looking decent and Giants weren't looking that great, but it was 14-0, but 14-0 going into the fourth quarter. And then all of a sudden, we had some injury problems. We lost Hicks, Cox, a safety. And then Odell finally woke up this season, got 2 touchdowns. Then Zach Ertz fumbles, which he never does. So then all of a sudden they score. It's 21-14 just like that. And everyone around me and Eagles fans everywhere were thinking wow, this is how we lose games all the time. We get a nice PI call, kick a field goal. Now, we go down, we get a PI call, and then a rookie running back runs it in. So anyways, they get the ball back with 52 seconds left. Luckily, they had a guy in motion wrong, and it was a legal formation. So they had to punt the ball. The punter shanks the punt. So now in, 10 seconds or something, we have to go 25 yards. I think it was incomplete pass. And then that Wentz to Jeffrey pass, man, I don't know how that got completed because there were 2 guys there underneath coverage, and he gets it. And then 61-yarder from Jake Elliott, the king, who was on a practice roster 3 weeks ago, second game, has missed 2 kicks. When it was up, I was sideline view. So no one could tell until he put the arms up, and the whole place went crazy. And it was a huge win because we don't normally win games like that. And it was crazy. And I think it puts us in a good position. And we took our rivals to 0-3. So I couldn't ask for a better trip and a better game to go see. That's for sure.
Yeah, it sounded very fun. That game was pretty damn good. The ending was crazy and unpredictable because of the rookie kicker. Any kicker, really, 61 yards. That's pretty amazing. So we're going to get into our picks. But first off, let's just tell the people at home watching or wherever you are on the mobile device, whatever, get in the chat. Let any questions you have, whether it's regarding your fantasy football lineup, your NFL teams this weekend, games you should bet on. That's why we're here, and we're here to, talk some football. So let's get into our picks. AC, I want to hear what your first pick is.
Okay, my first pick is New Orleans versus Miami. -3, New Orleans on the road, but just Miami lost to the Jets. And New Orleans looked like they had some sort of resurgence last week against Carolina. I wasn't a fan of Miami from the get-go this whole season. I bet against them and lost early, but I think they're starting to play what I kind of saw them at going into this year, something around 7-9. But I do like New Orleans in this one, -3. I think it could be good enough for a push.
This is a London game, right?
This is the London game, yes.
Yeah.
Which what we've seen, everything's up in the air. But the way Miami played last week, I do think it takes them a while to get over that. Plus going to London, I think New Orleans with their offense, I think they're going to do well, and I think they're going to cover the 3 points.
It's been interesting couple of weeks for Miami. They got a win where they maybe shouldn't have won against the Chargers.
Yeah.
And then you have the next week where they play the Jets, and they lose. But it's not just that they lose, but their head coach was blaming like everyone. He's like, our offense is terrible. This and that is terrible. You know, the whole situation with like Cutler, and they just seem like they're all frustrated in Miami. So maybe capitalizing off that with the Saints. But I agree with you. The Saints look a lot better. By the way, they're getting Willie Snead back this week, so that will definitely help. And I think he's that receiver. Like, we look at Michael Thomas, and sure, he gets all the stats, but I really feel like Willie Snead is kind of that receiver that makes their offense run, because their offense wasn't really like overly effective in the first couple of weeks of the season. And they had some moments against Carolina, but that was mostly because Carolina's offense is terrible. But I think Willie Snead's going to add a whole new dimension to this offense. There was a reason why they let go of Brandon Cooks, and I think it was because of him. So I agree with that pick. If I was to bet on that game, which I'm not, I would probably go with the Saints, and I picked them to win the game.
And I guess like the only thing I'd be scared of is Ajayi, because obviously New Orleans is more worse against the pass than they are the run, but Ajayi is definitely going to be pumped up because he is from England, so that could bring something in. But I just think on paper, when you look at this, if they get into a shootout, New Orleans wins this by like 14 points, because I don't think
think so.
If they get into a shootout, like
I think the whole strategy for
game, I just don't know how Cutler can consistently drive down the field if that's what New Orleans is doing. If it's just a rainy game and the run game, they might have a chance, but I think New Orleans is going to be able to spread the field and pick up yards in bunches.
I do look at Miami's secondary, and they have a conversation for being the worst secondary in the NFL. Like, they're terrible. Like, they're really bad. The Saints as well are really bad. But the Saints, like, the problem for me, which is why I don't feel 100% safe betting on this game, is I feel like Jay Ajayi is going to be the game plan for them. I think they're going to play defense through their offense, and they're going to try and run the ball and kind of keep Drew Brees on the sideline. And then you look at their receivers like Landry and Parker in them, and I feel like they could win some matchups even with Cutler at quarterback. So that's why I feel a little unsafe with it. But like, I agree with you. If this game does get in a shootout, which it probably will, the Saints should end up winning this game. So we'll see what happens. My first bet is actually this is actually kind of bold, because typically in the past, I would never do this. But I'm taking a road team in Seattle. I'm taking the Colts plus 13 points against the Seattle Seahawks, because I look at the Seattle Seahawks, they can't score. So you're telling me if the Colts score one touchdown, they already have 20 points. How many points are the Seahawks going to score in this game? Right? So my thing is, the Colts defense doesn't look that bad. They've had their moments. And the thing with the Seahawks is they can't block. They've been inefficient running the ball. They don't have Doug Baldwin most likely in this game. And their defense, I mean, Jacoby Brissett may have his hands full, but I just don't see how, if the Colts score 7 to 10 points, how are the Seahawks going to score that many points to cover this spread? We've seen nothing from them this season that tells me that they're an efficient team. A team, they're losing their minds with terrible penalties. Their coach is going nuts. Their offense can't score. Can you tell me why this is a bad bet?
No, I can't tell you it's a bad bet, but it's something I'd still stay away from, because some reason, I guess, being on the West Coast and being close to Seattle, I'm always thinking, like, you're always waiting for that breakout game this season, right? We have and it's maybe a lot to do with the media and being in the West Coast and all the Seattle fans. But there's always something that's just like, this is going to be their breakout game. This is the one. And if any of them were, it would be this one against a really bad team at home.
Yeah.
But I'm not opposed to the spread. That's why I kind of stayed away from it. But on OddsShark, I think it's 58% are taking the points out of all the money that's getting thrown around. So it's not a bad bet. I'm just more of the feeling that I'm always waiting. I don't think it might not happen, but this is kind of a game where we've seen in past seasons where all of a sudden Russell Wilson goes off, their run game gets better, their defense plays lights out, and they win by 20. But we've been saying that the last couple weeks and waiting for them to at least have a good performance offensively and defensive complete game. But yeah, no, I'd be fine with taking those points, because that is a lot of points. And like you said, if their offense continues to play like it has been, they're not going to be able to put up enough points to even cover.
Yeah. So my thing is throwing on to that. I would have never bet this game in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. But this year, what I've seen from this team, they didn't play well against the Titans. I think there was some inflated stats there. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that game, but basically Russell Wilson had 100 and something yards going into the fourth quarter, and then he threw for like 200 in the fourth quarter because they were coming back. So I just think part of that 13 is, we saw all these stats and maybe Russell Wilson is back because of the end of the game, but I just don't see it happening. So I'm taking the Colts. What's your number 2 game?
I have the Jaguars.
This is interesting.
-3 against the Jets. I know the Jets looked somewhat decent last week, but that was Miami, and I do like Jacksonville's defense a lot more than Miami's defense. And that offense the Jacksonville's offense obviously had their best game in 8 years, 10 years. So I'm just thinking
the Texans game.
Yeah, the Texans game, but that was more their defense. I was just thinking that was Blake Bortles' best game. I think probably. Are
you taking the Jaguars?
Yeah, I'm taking the Jags -3. I just think the Jets, okay, there's their one win. I did kind of see them. I didn't like Miami at the beginning of the season. And I didn't like Jacksonville, but I do like what I've seen from Jacksonville now, and I think Bortles is going to be able to move the ball. The running game is going to be good, and I just think that defense is going to be able to shut down McCown and whatever offense the Jets even have, because I think there were a lot of Powell fans at the beginning of the season in fantasy, and that's kind of dwindled down pretty quick.
He doesn't get enough snaps.
No, he doesn't. And I'm a fantasy owner of him, and I've been waiting for that. The first week wasn't bad for touches and points, but now it's kind of dwindled down, and I thought he'd be involved in the offense because even in the preseason, he would look like one of their best players. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm taking Jacksonville -3.
Yeah, so my thoughts on that game, I think that this game is going to be maybe the lowest scoring game the whole weekend. Because like you said, I don't think the Jets are going to be able to move the ball at all. Like the Jags defense has been very good, very consistent, and their secondary is amazing, like unreal. They arguably have the 2 best corners in the league on the same team. So that's pretty nuts. And looking at the other side, the Jets defense performed well against Miami. How much of a stretch is it to say that Miami's offense is just as good, if not better, than the Jags? I mean, the Jags offense isn't great. They've had their moments this season, and I think the Jets defense is slightly underrated. So part of it, I think, is the Jets are at home, and it's 3 points, and I think it's going to be low scoring. So that's why I didn't take this game. But like, I could totally understand it because you're just betting on, okay, the Jets might not even score a point in this game. So I understand what you're trying to say, and definitely I picked the Jags to win the game outright. But yeah, at the same time, I have slight pause just because it's the home team, and it's probably going to be a game where it's like 13-10, right? So,
true. Well, and then that's
I'm not sure.
Like I have them at -3. I know Bodo saying -3.5. That's still something where with the 3 points, sometimes when you're betting and it gets a little sketchy, I could care less about a push. You know what I mean? I'll take my money back, move on. I guess it's better than losing. Obviously, it's not winning, but if it's a 3-point game and you get your push, if you have the 3 points, then it's not the end of the world. But I do think they're going to win by a bit more than that.
All right. So after this game that I pick right here, we'll get to the comments, and then we'll go down our next 2, and then we'll get to the comments again, just so you guys know. So ask all your questions now. I'm going my next game, and it's not necessarily in any order. Like, the first one's like a must bet. The last one's like, it's just the games that I've already bet on. Like, I've already bet on these games. So I have, and you might not agree with me here, the Giants +3 in Tampa Bay. I think it's finally time for the Giants to win a game, to win this game. Because I look at the individual matchup of the teams, and at a certain point in the season, it becomes from who do we think is good, and then what's the matchup. I think the Giants are extremely desperate in this game. They probably should have won against the Eagles. I mean, there was a crazy ending, but I did like what I saw from the Giants, and they were on the road in that game. So I have confidence that they can do the same thing on the road in Tampa Bay. is their passing game kind of came alive in that second half against a secondary that's very comparable to the Tampa Bay secondary.
Yeah, I just want to say this, though. Eli, still, those 2 picks were bad, right? Like,
they were bad.
Those were huge. And like we said,
who's been throwing just as bad interceptions? That's Jameis Winston. He had a terrible game against the Vikings. I think the Giants defense matches up very well with this offense. I really like the corner matchups against wide receivers. I think that their D-line can control the front. And I think, they're going to have to rely a lot on their 2 tight ends to move the ball down the field, in my opinion, with Jameis. And I just don't trust Jameis right now. Like, he had a terrible game against the Vikings. He was making way too many mistakes. And they don't have Doug Martin until next week. They haven't been able to run the ball. Their defense, they don't have Quan Alexander. They don't have Levante David. Their linebackers are messed up. Their corners are all injured, but they're going to play, I heard. Like Brent Grimes didn't play last week, but he's supposed to play this week, but he's banged up. I just don't see anyone on that team that can cover Odell. I don't see anyone on that team that's going to cover Sterling Shepard, who, by the way, is a start this week for me because their slot corner, I think it's Robert McClain, is one of the worst in the league. So look out for him. I just think Eli in this game, the Giants are going to come out and they're going to be able to score some points and move the ball because of those matchups. I liked how they simplified their offense last week, and I think they ran like 20 slant plays in a row. Like, it was ridiculous. They were just like slant. But
it was funny because, and the Eagles, and that was that second interception was because they just knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. I actually don't mind this pick. I looked at it to bet. I do like the Giants to win this game. It's not in my 4 picks, but I do, like you said, they're due, and the way their offenses started playing at the end of the Eagles game, he just proves that Odell can't be, outdone by that much when you just throw it up to him every time. I think they're going to try to get him the ball a lot more. And you know what? To be honest, that Giants pass protection, this past week was pretty good. They only gave up, I don't even think they gave up a sack to the Eagles. Quick passes, yes.
Yeah,
but
that was what it was.
And Fletcher Cox was injured, which he's a huge player for that Eagles D-line. But I was surprised in that.
Tampa Bay doesn't have a Brandon Graham on their team.
No, not on the edge. That's why I'm saying I was very surprised that the Eagles didn't sack Eli Manning once. It was and we still were up 14 without even touching him. It was just those 2 picks were huge. But I agree with you. I'd take the Giants if I was maybe adding another game.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, it is a little bold to take a team that hasn't won a game on the road, but only +3. But that's just how I feel. What's your next game, AC? But before we get to your next game, I almost forgot. Let's get to the chat. Starting off, who's starting it off here? Kill'em Boys I think he's a Pats fan. He's predicting some yardage here. He says Brandon Cooks is going to have 100 yards and Gronk 200 yards.
That'd be a good game if you started Gronk, as you would, but you'd win your fantasy league if Gronk had 200 yards. I
definitely think it was the coming out party for Cooks last week. This is a game where he should have another huge game against the Panthers corners. Definitely.
Can I just say one thing about that throw? It was an unbelievable throw, but you have to think, how do they leave him open? Because it was kind of a floater.
Which one?
The Cooks TD. It was kind of a floater.
Because his hand got hit, and somehow he still delivered it right on the money.
I understand that. It was an unbelievable throw, but I don't get in coverage. Like, there were 2 guys around him, and it was floating in the air. You gave him so much room.
It was a cover 2.
I understand that. I just still don't get it, like, in that type of time.
I understand what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of floating, and then when it's in the air, if you didn't know what happened, you were like, whoa, this is, like, going to get knocked away or something.
Yeah.
But it was a great throw. Like, it was unbelievable. That was, like, the only place it could have been, and it was a great route by Cooks. But I couldn't, like, when that was up in the air and I was watching the replay, I'm like, that was crazy that he was just open, and it just landed in his arms.
No, did you see that video with Belichick this week where he was talking about, like, how he got Hogan open on some of these plays?
No.
Okay, so there was, like, McDaniels. This was a in-game adjustment. So there was this one play where Hogan ran an out on a previous play. And this was in the preseason. They played them in the 3rd week of the preseason. He runs an out in the preseason. It gets picked off because of the way that the safeties are playing. So they're playing like this cover 4, and they're playing like to the outside, right? So they jump the outside out. So what McDaniel sees is that Jonathan Joseph and I don't know, maybe the safety or somebody are talking on the opposite sideline. He sees them talking and adjusting, like talking about, okay, I'm going to go here, so you jump this route and I'll go here. So McDaniels draws a play up to do Hogan in the slot, the same play, but do an out and up. So he ends up going wide open for like 35 yards down the field. It was pretty amazing just to watch, like
sounds like Spygate to me.
Yeah, that was incredible to me. That was incredible. That was a great video. If you haven't seen that,
no, I'll check it out.
Definitely check it out.
It's easy. It's like you can't really hate on the Pats too. It's not even spying. You're just looking across the field.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? Like maybe like go onto a bench or something.
But I don't know how like McDaniel saw from all the way across the field like what he was telling him. But anyways,
Spygate, dude. They had it mic'd.
Yeah, they got him mic'd up. He's listening in.
Yeah.
Bodo said the damn screen froze. Kill'em Boy says, who y'all think is the best team in the NFL right now? I think it's the Broncos. Well, after the Broncos lost to the Bills, which I thought that they should win that game, even though it was in Buffalo's tough defense. And that,
you have to admit, though, you're a Chiefs hater. The Chiefs are the best team in the NFL.
I never said that. I never said anything about the Chiefs.
I thought you said the Broncos were the best team in the NFL.
No, he did.
Oh, okay.
Kill'em Boy said that.
Never mind.
I said the Broncos lost to the Bills, so they're not.
Oh
the
no,
best.
I thought you said. I think the question.
So the
was,
Chiefs right now, the Chiefs right now are the best team in the league.
Yes, they are. I agree.
Okay. AC's trying to put me in a corner.
Yeah, no, and then it always backfires that I'm like completely wrong. Whatever.
Kill'em Boy says, I think the Saints will lock down the Dolphins. Interesting. He says Willie Snead 90 yards. I don't see the hype. Well, 90 yards is pretty good to me. Like your yardage totals are kind of high. Gronk 200 yards.
Well, I had Willie Snead last year, and I think the year before, and he's decent in PPR because he does get targeted quite a bit. He's good for at least a touchdown every 2 games, sometimes more. And he was their slot guy, right? Like he is. Yeah, he is
the slot guy. Yep.
He's kind of like their Edelman third down. He is their Garcon. Like he is their guy that they go to when they need a big catch in short yardage, especially in the red zone. Last season, he caught a lot of touchdowns in the red zone. So for me, he's always a good player, and I think he does help that offense out a lot.
He also says Saxonville will finally be consistent for 2 weeks. Interesting. So he agrees with AC. Fang Thao, I think his name is.
Fang Thao.
What do you think, what do you think? Wendell Smallwood as a flex? I'll ask AC first, but
it depends what you have. Yes, but obviously it's still up in the air because we've seen the Eagles game struggle. Yes, it was his best game with, I think it was like 13 carries for 62. And I think he's going to be more in the passing game. But we also saw in the fourth quarter of last game, from 20 yards out, they played an undrafted running back, Corey Clement, who I picked up in my fantasy because he is more of a running back, if that makes any sense. Like he is a between the tackles guy. And I like what I've seen with Blunt the last couple of weeks getting better, but Blunt's not going to play until you're pretty much in the red zone. So I'd be wary. I still think he has the potential, but they do space the ball out, and whoever's hot, they play. You still got Blunt in there, and then I think and then Clement is going to add a lot more to the offense. But yeah, Wendell Smallwood. I have him on my team. I don't think I'm going to start him because I'm in a PPR league, and I rather play receivers than running backs for a flex. Just that's the way it is. But yeah, like I think if he got 10 points, I think he'd be very happy.
For me,
he need a touchdown. He'd need a touchdown for it to be really worth it.
Obviously, depending on who you have on your team. But for me, I've said that I think he's generally a start. because he is going to replace pretty much what Darren Sproles is doing. Like you said, those guys are kind of bigger running backs. He's the smaller, shifty guy, right? And we saw him get the most touches last week of anyone on the team. So I feel like that's kind of their style right now is they really like Darren Sproles. I think they're going to miss Darren Sproles a little bit. But Smallwood, I would take the chance on him. Like if there's a lot of difficult matchups this week for some running backs, and if you have to start them, like say you have Amir Abdullah and it's between him and Wendell Smallwood, I would probably go with Wendell Smallwood because Abdullah is playing the Vikings, and that's like the best team against running backs right now. So, I would if it depends who you have, but I might take the chance because I think he does have that high ceiling where potentially if he gets enough touches, he could get a touchdown or two or a bunch of catches or a long play. So we'll see what happens, but I would say that he is a start at least this week. Bodo said
we'll have to see. And like I was just going to say, like even in that game, they gave him touches. He was 14 for 62, which is good. But you have to think too, he's not going to be any of the red zone. So you need him for it to be worth it. He needs to get at least 100 all-purpose yards type thing. You know what I mean? Like 100 yards from the line of scrimmage. Because I don't think he's going to get a touchdown. So that's the only sketchy thing for me is like if you're looking for 8 to 10 points, but I don't think he's going to go off.
Okay. Bodo says Seattle plays down to their competition. He says watch the Bengals and Browns tie. He says I got Jags -3.5.
Yeah, that's what I kind of liked as well. But like I said, 3.5. I think they're going to win by more. But you did say that you think it's going to be more like a 3-point game. So
I think it will be within 6.
Yeah,
but So that's why I think it's kind of risky because it could be only 3 points, but that's how I feel. Bodo says, why bet against Tampa Bay since you've only seen them for 2 weeks? I saw them get ripped up by Case Keenum last week.
Yeah, true.
Jeremy says, how about the Jets last week? I bet they win again.
They might. Hopefully not.
Do I start Wentz or Eli as the second quarterback?
Interesting.
I would probably Wentz plays the Chargers, right?
Yeah, I go Eli, but I'm just saying like it's the secondary has a lot of injuries in that Chargers, and it depends how they play it. Because
I think you could start either of them. I'm trying. It's a 2 quarterback league, so I would probably go with Wentz just because Eli has more. I mean, Eli probably has a higher ceiling against Tampa Bay, but at the same time, Eli also has like a really low floor because he could lose you a week. Yes, he could throw like 4 picks. So I would probably go Wentz, depending on who your first quarterback is and the rest of your team. If you have a relatively safe team and you think, this guy's going to get this amount of points, this guy's going to get, then go with Eli. But if your team is kind of like you need like a big game to win, then if you need a big game to win, go with Eli. If you need a safe game, go with Wentz. That's what I would say. F the Chiefs, says kill 'em boys. Y'all forgot about the Lions for best team and Falcons.
Yeah, I'm more of a I do like the Lions. I wouldn't say they're the best team in the NFC.
Well, they just lost to the Falcons, even though they probably should have won.
Yeah, but if you think about it too, I just still like what Green Bay's been able to do. I would say because that's why
I'm not on that bandwagon, even from what I saw this week.
I don't know what you saw this game that like you wouldn't like.
Atlanta's definitely the best team in the NFC.
Atlanta's definitely the best team, but I'm saying if you want to go like 2, I don't know.
I think Detroit is probably better than Green Bay.
Yeah, we'll have to see them play. Obviously, they lost by less points and in a different way than Green Bay because Green Bay, obviously, their loss came to Atlanta as well. So Atlanta is far above the best team. But I just watching Aaron Rodgers play. Some of his career stats, I think he easily is right behind Tom Brady when it comes to best quarterbacks in the league, easily.
Oh yeah, easily.
What he does,
those top two guys are like.
But it looked
there.
like their defense has been getting better.
Mm-hmm.
I know obviously it was the Bears, but I think their defense seemed to be getting a bit better, especially in that first half.
How do you explain that Bengals game where they got dominated until Aaron Rodgers took them on their back? There.
I can't explain that. I only just saw them. I didn't watch that game, but I did like what I saw on that defense last week. And I do think with Rodgers, it doesn't matter. He's gonna be able to win you games. Your defense has to be bend, don't break. And obviously, we saw them get easy interceptions because they were thrown right at the guy, but still interceptions.
Good old Glennon. Okay. So, did you talk about your third game?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm going to take the Eagles. It's 2.5. I have to give up. Wait.
No, they're plus 2.5, aren't they? Are they minus?
Yeah, that's what. Wait. No, they have to be minus 2.5, right? They're plus 2.5. Okay, even better. I know they have some injuries, but still, like I thought it was minus 2.5 because I couldn't think why would Philadelphia.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, even because the Chargers haven't won a game yet.
The only reason it is because they're thinking of the East Coast team traveling to the West Coast.
Yeah,
that's the only reason why they're favorite. But I still think that the way the Eagles have been playing offensively, I think Wentz, yes, he's been missing on a couple deep throws, but he's been very accurate on third down. The Eagles are one of the best third down teams. When they really need to get a completion, I think their offense has got a lot better in that aspect. He's not really throwing away too many bad passes. I think you're just seeing what a difference this receiving core makes now, having Torrey Smith and Alshon Jeffrey, because it's similar to the same offense as last year, just with some new pieces. And then defensively, there are some injuries, but I do think what we've seen, and I think with the Packers and Atlanta is the same. Jalen Mills, who was a 6th-round pick, is all of a sudden last year had to go against the number 1 receiver, got killed against Odell, got killed against Dez. But now we're seeing, obviously those 2 touchdowns were great one-on-one catches, but I don't think Keenan Allen makes those catches like Odell. But Jalen Mills was very good against Odell besides those 2 touchdowns. And I do think the secondary is getting a lot better. Rodney McLeod didn't play. We had to have Chris Maragos, who's a special teamer. So I think we win this one handily, at least by a touchdown, because the Chargers are a team now. I'm kind of off the bandwagon. I just don't think they're what I think the NFL world thought they were going to be this year, and I don't see it changing. But who knows? But I'm still I like Eagles in this one. But traveling, it's always tough. But I do think they pull out a win, and especially it's only it's not like the crowd noise is going to be an issue. You only can fit 20,000 people in that stadium, and half of it is empty. So I do like the Eagles. I guess plus 2.5.
All right, my game. So we're going with the homer teams here. I'm going with the Pats. It's -9. Yes, they lost last week. Freaking spread, but and I didn't like what I saw from the defense, that's for sure. I ripped them apart. AC, you weren't here for that. But I ripped the Patriots apart. I'm sure you would have loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't contain freaking Miracle Man Deshaun Watson, who was breaking like 7 tackles a play and then throwing it across his body for like a 20-yard play. But this week, they play a beat-down, struggling Panthers with arguably the worst offense in the NFL. If they can't stop this offense, I'm going to be afraid, okay? But they play Cam Newton, who's hurt. Can't hit anything. Kelvin Benjamin's hurt. He probably, I don't know if he's going to play or not, but he's going to be banged up nonetheless. Greg Olsen is out. They can't protect the quarterback. Christian McCaffrey's the only guy they really have to stop, okay? And Jonathan Stewart won't be able to run the ball. The Patriots actually been pretty good run defense so far this year. Except against Kareem Hunt in that first game. But they fixed that. Offensively, the Patriots' offense is unreal right now. They just lit up one of the best defenses in the league in the Texans for the first 300 passing yard game they've allowed in 30 games. Tom Brady is playing unreal. They're at home. I just don't see how the Panthers are going to score enough to like keep up on the scoreboard, because I think sure this Panthers defense is good, but they showed some flaws against the Saints, especially in their secondary. They've played some really bad offenses so far. The only decent offense they played is the Saints, and we saw what happened with a good quarterback. I think Brady, he feasts on zone coverage defenses. I think he's going to do that this week, and I think the Patriots are going to win by at least 10 points, which it's 9 right now. So I'm going to go with the Pats at home. And I think they need to play good on defense, because a lot of people are, ripping them apart. They're 32nd, all this stuff. I think Belichick's going to get them motivated, and hopefully they get their head out of their ass on defense. And their offense is absolutely fire right now, so I'm confident.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it's only 9 points, but I think what we've seen is
it's because of their defense.
When they're at least single digit, they normally cover. I think when you get into different territory betting with the Patriots is when they're like 14, 15 point favorites.
Yeah. The thing about them last year
is decent.
The thing about them last year is because they had a good defense, so they were able to cover like those 15 point spreads, like 16 point spreads or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So this year they don't have that defense, so you're kind of risking it that this won't be because I remember those years where it was like 09 to like 2012, they had one of the top 3 worst defenses in the league. Somehow they were still good, but like every once in a while there would be like Joe Blow off the street would throw like 300 yards against Terrence Wheatley at cornerback, and like it was really bad. But hopefully I just don't see how, like, especially the secondary, like the secondary has too much talent to not fix this issue for whatever reason, what they're having. I don't know. We'll see. I've like the Panthers offense looks awful. Like if you've seen them play, it's just bad. So I'm going with the Pats here, and we're both going with our home teams. The next game, who do you have as your number 4 bet?
You know what? This is a tough one, but I can't see Cleveland winning. And they won last week, right?
Cleveland? They lost.
Cleveland hasn't won a game yet?
No.
Okay, well, I can't see them winning another game. Sorry, I thought some reason
they haven't won a game.
Did they play close last week?
No, they were getting killed, but then it got close at the end. Like Jacoby Brissett was lighting them up.
Oh yeah, that was it.
I think it was like 31. Yeah, it was like 31-14. Then they scored 2 touchdowns.
No, yeah, they got killed. Now I remember. But I'm taking Cincinnati because I did like what I saw in Cincinnati. AJ Green got going on that offense, played decent enough.
They actually figured out that they have to throw the ball to 18. It's kind of
100%. Yeah, and it was great because I had that trade in the BLV league that killed it because Trevor Siemian was in high demand. And then Cincy minus 3.
The worst trade ever.
Cincy -3 and against Cleveland. I'll take them. I think it is a division game, and you could see Cincy have another stinker, but you're only as good as your last game, and I did like what Cincinnati was doing last week, so I think they get it. They get it. The last 2 weeks, actually. Their offense has been getting better, but I think they get it done against Cleveland. -3.
Fair enough. I have Cincy winning that game, obviously, and it's only 3 points, so.
Yeah.
The next one, I have Denver -3 at home against Oakland. They're going to bounce back from last week. I think this is a lot different. We saw how bad Oakland looked against Washington on the road. Their offense was bad. And the thing about that matchup, Washington's defense and Oakland's offense, they have the same scheme as the Broncos. It's the same defense. It's just worse, right? The corners of the Broncos are great, and the Crabtree and Cooper have continued to struggle against good corners and good secondaries. Carr, and their offense has continued to disappoint on the big stage at like time and time again. I think the Broncos are going to win this game. I think they're actually going to win it in impressive fashion. I think, they're going to be able to pass the ball, which Oakland's secondary looked bad last week, and they've looked bad all season pretty much. They let up a lot of points to the Jets. They let up a lot of yards to Kirk Cousins and kind of gave him a resurgence. And Trevor Siemian's been amazing at home. He's thrown 6 touchdowns in 2 games. Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders look good. The CJ Anderson in the run game. I don't think they'll have the most successful game on the ground, but I think that will be enough to kind of, move along and work that play action and work those one-on-one matchups on the outside. And I just don't see how the Raiders are actually going to be able to score a lot of points in Denver. I just don't have enough confidence right now. Marshawn Lynch doesn't look good, and didn't look good last week. I don't know. Something with the Raiders right now, like they were impressive week 1. They're decently impressive week 2. But after that, a performance in Washington against a team that's very similar to what the Broncos bring. And I just like I like the Broncos. I think they're a dominant defense, and I think that's going to be enough for them to win this game by at least, I think I'm going to say at least a touchdown, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's tough because there was rumors about Oakland last week that I think some people are pissed off about Derek Carr in that locker room.
I heard some things they weren't blocking for him or something.
No. It seems pretty outrageous. But the one thing I will say is what's not outrageous is to think that they might be somewhat pissed off at him. That's not outrageous to think. But this is what it's saying. I think this storyline could hurt Oakland in the future. I'm not as sold on this game about Denver. I wouldn't bet it, but I guess gun to the head, I guess I would take Denver.
I just like the matchup. Like I just think Denver is built to beat Oakland.
Yeah, true.
So,
I don't mind that.
Okay. Do you have a fifth bet?
If I was going to bet, I do like Detroit against Minnesota because I don't think Keenum can do it. And I don't mind that Detroit defense. And I think the offense is going to be able to do what it does. Even in Minnesota? Even in Minnesota, because it's inside, right? It's turf.
Okay.
Even with the home field. I just think 2.5, Detroit could easily win. I think it's going to be really close, and they could easily win by 3. It doesn't matter.
Is that a money line bet for you? Or what?
Yeah, that's why Philly's probably gonna be a money line as well.
Okay. My other bet would be Washington +7. Like I said, I was impressed with what I saw from Washington. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Washington's defense. They've gotten a lot of pressure, and I think the Chargers were really close in that game against the Chiefs. And yeah, you're gonna say I'm a Chiefs hater, and it's in Kansas City,
Chiefs hater, man.
But
Chiefs hater just because they beat you, man.
No, man, not at all.
That offense is sick, dude. That defense is sick. They're the most complete team in the NFL.
Their defense isn't that sick. They've given up the 28th most yards in the NFL.
When?
Look it up.
Well, I'm saying, but their defense has been not break, and their offense, I'm saying, as a complete unit, man.
They're the best team in the league. I said that. But I think Washington's going to be within 7. I don't see how the Chiefs are going to blow them out. I've been too impressed with their front 7. I think Josh Norman's a beast right now. He's playing cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, and cover 4 at the same time. I like what I saw from like Thompson and what they were doing with their running backs, the creativity on offense last week against Oakland. I like Kirk Cousins. I think this game is going to be close. I think this game is going to be within a touchdown. That's why I'm taking the 7 points.
They should never have got rid of Garcon. That's all I'll say.
He signed like a $50 million contract.
Doesn't matter. Well, the guys they sign aren't doing anything.
But Pryor was only a 1-year contract, and we got to give him a little bit more time for that. And that's the only guy they signed.
I know. Well, then I think what they lost is greater. When this season's said and done, yes, they had a good game. The last 2 games, I think when this season's said and done, I think their offense is not going to be as good with Pryor and Crowder in an increased role than it was with Deshaun, Garcon, and Crowder, in my opinion.
Okay. I think it's more McVay than anything else, personally. But yeah, I like Washington +7 as my other bet. So those are our bets this week. Going through it, I have the Colts +13. Interesting that we have like all different bets. Colts +13, the Giants +3, Pats -9, Washington +7, and Denver -3.
And mine are New Orleans against Miami, New Orleans -3, Jacksonville versus the Jets, Jacksonville -3, Philly +2.5 against the LA Chargers. I just saw LAC and I thought Clippers. I guess it's early for me. 2.5 over the Clippers.
That's what I think
Clippers.
too. Like,
yeah, right. And then Cincinnati -3 over Cleveland, and then maybe I'll probably bet Detroit money line.
Jeremy says, "What if the Patriots still had Edelman?" I think they'd score 45 points a game. To be honest,
they'd be good.
Oh Jesus. Okay, let's go to the rest of the comments here. Brian said, "Not betting against the Ravens." LOL.
Yeah, I'd stay away from anything to do with the Ravens because I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a divisional game. Ravens have won 4 of the last 5 matchups against the Steelers. I think the Ravens have a good chance of winning that game. So even with all their injuries, it's weird because they had a terrible game last week and it was in London, so you never really know. And the Steelers looked terrible last week too. So Bodo said skins get skins. Bodo said Chiefs have allowed 390.
No, I know. I saw that, but I do. If you think about it, for that yardage, for the amount of points they're giving up, I don't think that's that bad. Obviously, that's a ton of yardage, but if you look at least with the average of points they're giving up and the average points they're scoring, doesn't matter. Best team in the league, Andy Reid, man.
All right,
can't be
Andy Reid. Yeah, let's see if they actually raise that trophy, which I think it's not going to happen.
Well, no, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just saying Andy Reid is an unbelievable regular season coach.
Good coach.
He's only had 2 losing seasons.
He's pretty good. Never had won a Super Bowl though. All right, guys, thanks for joining us.
Not many coaches have.
Yeah, that's true. Mike Tomlin has. Cheerleader Tomlin. NFL picks against the spread for week number 4. It's been the Gridiron Gamble here. Mitch, AC, Bottom Line View. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more football. This weekend, or tomorrow, I should say, we have a show of every weekend. If you guys have missed it for some reason, wake your ass up if you're on the West Coast. Join us here live. If you're on the East Coast, there's no excuses. Join us live. We're going to be talking before the games. And, it's going to be me, Dilly, Kev, whoever we can have on. And we're just going to talk about the games, who you should start in your fantasy lineup right as it's happening and the injury reports are coming out, who you should bet on, all that stuff tomorrow before the games start at 1 Eastern. And then Sunday Night Football, we'll have a recap for that. Monday Night Football, we'll have a recap. And, of course, Dylan's video and Kev's video should also be out tonight. So look out for that stuff here on the Bottom Line View. For Mitch and AC, peace.